Well, hello, welcome back. I hope you're all doing well, and if you're here for the first time, welcome. So, I came across a story. It was an opinion piece, in fact, written on Meghan, and the title was Meghan Markle's Crash Course on Blackness. Now, this got my attention, and I wanted to share with you a couple of, pieces that stood out to me in this article, and I want to know your thoughts. Let's get into the highlights. First and foremost, the author Sophia Nelson wrote and said, Meghan Markle needs sisters. No, I'm not talking about blood relatives like the litigious half-sister of whom she is estranged. By sisters, I mean in the African American vernacular, women who will be a part of her tribe, who will watch her back, love her, laugh with her, and be there for her as she confronts the most invidious challenges that anti-Black racism can throw her way. The author Sophia goes on to say, if Markle didn't know before taking up with Prince Harry that those kind of challenges would be coming, she surely knows that now. The past few years, during which the couple announced they were stepping down as senior royals and left Great Britain, will have been an education for the Duchess of Sussex and erstwhile star of the cable television show Suits. And she goes on to talk about how the Sussexes endured a barrage of criticism after the move, but the scrutiny and criticism of Meghan began long before that. She says this, quote, Harry made it clear from early days that negative press coverage was a reflection of racism towards the biracial Duchess, whose father is white and mother is Black. After all the years of wall-to-wall media coverage, what's left to say about Meghan and Harry? Plenty, if you're African American. She says this, quote, Black women like me who sat back and watched the media onslaught against Meghan Markle have been nodding knowingly over the past few years. We have seen it all before. We live it every day in the form of microaggressions and outright racism. African Americans were taken aback, but not too many of us were truly surprised when she faced the wrath of a British tabloid press and the more subtle disapproval by some members of the royal family itself. Many people of color celebrated Meghan's marriage to Harry, she says, as a sign of racial progress. But as we watched the treatment received by Meghan, Black America summoned its collective indignation as it does when one of us is unjustly slighted. Few of us consort with royalty, but many of us have found ourselves in situations where it's been suggested, none too subtly, that we were not quite up to standard. In those moments, we've had to deftly show the doubters who belittle us and who hope to make us feel small, colleagues, classmates, bosses, sometimes even underlings, that they have greatly underestimated us. And so, in the Black community, there has been no small amount of umbrage taken on Meghan's behalf. The interesting thing is, Meghan only relatively recently had been introduced to harsh realities of racial animus. The author goes on to talk about how Meghan discussed her own racial identity, saying that she revealed that it was only after she started dating Prince Harry that she, quote, started to understand what it was like to be treated like a Black woman, because up until then, Meghan said, I had been treated like a mixed woman, and things really shifted, end quote. And did they ever, the author says. Meghan has endured overt media abuse for being Black at an industrial strength level that most of us mercifully have not had to face. With a few minor hiccups here and there, she has proven to be amazingly resilient on the world stage. Sophia writes and says, quote, It's always struck me as something of an irony that Meghan was deemed too Black for Britain's elite. As one writer put it, at the time of Harry and Meghan's engagement. Quote, "No black or brown person had ever held a great office of state in the UK. In fact, to this very day, thanks to Meghan, Britain has had more black princesses than the BBC has ever had black controllers," end quote. In the United States, meanwhile, if you passed her on the sidewalk, you might be forgiven for not realizing she had black ancestry and isn't just another sun-kissed Californian or one who has had a passing acquaintance with a tanning bed. In the genetics grab bag that determines what we all look like, half-black Meghan ended up with a complexion much more like that of her white father, the author says. The author elaborates and says, "Growing up, it appears that even with her black mom, race seems not to have been much of a topic of conversation. Meghan's mother, Doria, acknowledged in the Netflix Harry and Meghan documentary released in late 2022 that helping her daughter forge a black identity while growing up was not something she focused on much. And she says it's a decision she now regrets. So for Meghan, the last few years had been a crash course in blackness, and she has been a quick study. She infused her wedding with African American themes. She counts Serena Williams among her longtime friends. Hollywood director Tyler Perry is godfather to one of her children, the author says. This clearly is not a woman who is running from her African ancestry. If anything, she's leaning into it, and black people on both sides of the pond, for the most part, love her for it. We embrace Meghan because she has been baptized in the scrutiny of race in the particular way that those of us with melanated skin often go through, even when that melanin is present only in small amounts. The author said, "I can relate to the challenges Meghan faces." So the author talks about the fact that she has 2 mixed-race adult nieces. Like Meghan, they are beautiful and smart and have struggled with racial identity issues. She said that her influence on them and the influence of her mom, 2 black women who are anchors in their lives, she says that she worried that that might woefully be inadequate for the lives they were going to face ahead. And she says, keeping grounded, and in her words, she wanted them to be prepared for any racial onslaught. And she said that this is another reason to lean into the support from your black sisters. She writes, "So, as we call out our honor roll of notable achievers this Black History Month, not too many of us will take issue of adding to the roster Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, actress, philanthropist, and mother to 2 grandchildren of Britain's ruling monarch, and soon to be crowned King Charles III. All of which makes Meghan, as this month-long celebration of blackness comes to a close, a true history icon, loved and supported by sisters everywhere." So that's the piece, and I would like to know your thoughts in the comment section below. Once again, this is an article by Sophia Nelson. She is a black woman. And as she said in her opening statement for this piece, she said that Meghan Markle needs sisters. So, a standout to me in this article, as of course I'm now just so curious to know your thoughts. Please get typing. Something stood out to me that she said here that is so powerful. She said that Meghan had been introduced, in quotes, to the harsh realities of racial animus. And in her own words, she said that Meghan had had a, quote, a crash course in blackness. Because as she put it, Meghan has endured overt media abuse for being black at an industrial strength level that many mercifully will never have to face. And of course, she talks about the fact that Meghan has been amazingly resilient on the world stage. Who can deny Meghan has held herself so well? Now, I wanted to touch on the fact that she said that Meghan needs sisters. And I've seen people talking about Meghan and those who are in her close circle. And I've listened to people on many sides of that whole spectrum of conversation, and people who are well-meaning as well. And of course, there are those who try to put her down, asking and questioning Meghan's closeness to her blackness. It just led me to who is in Meghan's inner circle. As she pointed out here, And I think as we go down the list of those who are in her circle, those who have been there for her, those who have had a voice in her life, we cannot move in this list without talking about her mom, Doria. Meghan, for those who have bothered to just dig a bit deeper, has never been someone who runs away from her blackness. She is a mixed race woman. She identifies as that. She has never, according to some of the things we read online, the rumors that she marked herself as Caucasian. In fact, we famously remember the story that she spoke about where she said her dad told her to draw her own box, right? When she was wondering what to tick, was she white or black, her dad said, draw your own box. And Meghan has owned it. She's owned her black side, she has owned her white side, and she's been quite open about her struggles fitting in, not being black enough, and even how that impacted her early career when she would go out for auditions. They would not cast her for black roles. They would be rolling their eyes at her agents, and we've all heard that criticism of Meghan not being black enough. I think we've talked about that before on this channel, and I will link a video where I think I spoke about that as well here. Once again, let's just get that out of the way. There are those who have said that Meghan has been one who's running away from her blackness, does not own it. She shuns her black side, which is not true. She even took part in that campaign concerning racism, and she talked about the fact that some people could not gauge who she was, and they would say the most racist things around her, thinking, or not even knowing, by the way, that she was half black herself. So, as I said before, Meghan's mom, Doria, has been a huge influence in her life. Talk about grounding force being her mom. And her mom is not transient in her life. I think we saw in the Harry and Meghan documentary, her mom has been right there, quite pivotal, was there when Archie was born, was with Meghan in the first months, and has been there through and through, taking care of Archie. We've seen the cute videos of her being there and how Meghan interacts with her mom. That's not someone who is estranged. That's someone who, even a lot of her own mom's traits are so much in Meghan, in the way she talks. You just see it right there, yeah? So her mom's influence is so deeply rooted in Meghan, and that's a black woman's influence in her. So that's out the way. Meghan is not someone who runs away from her blackness. And Meghan has her circle as well. She has close friends, does have those sistahs in her life as well. Black women who can speak to the struggles that she has gone through. And of course, notably, we have Serena Williams, who has been in Meghan's life long before she was a duchess. They first crossed paths at a charity football game in 2014, and they hit it off immediately. And so began their friendship, Meghan says. She wrote about that on the TIG. They became confidants to each other. They would text when traveling. She would also go to her tennis matches. And, they talk about a lot of things. And I think for those of you who followed Serena Williams' career, that's a woman who can speak to a lot of the struggle she's seen Meghan go through. I mean, she's a woman who can not only speak to it, she can recognize what Meghan has gone through. Serena's story is amazing. She has gone through so much in her own career as a tennis player coming up. My gosh, I think that Serena being in her life is just such a powerful thing. When we think about what she has endured over the course of her career, frequent racist attacks against her, misogyny as well, misogynoir. Talk about someone who stood out in tennis, in the tennis world, as a black woman in, at the time, a predominantly white sport. First as a teenager, and then growing up and rising through the tennis ranks, and now she is known right now all over the world as possibly the greatest female tennis player of all time. She has gone through so much. Though she has been a 23-time Grand Slam champion, she has gone through media attacks on her own appearance that have played upon racist tropes. There was a Romanian TV host who was fined by the National Council for Combating Discrimination after comparing Serena to a monkey. A fellow tennis player imitated Serena Williams at an exhibition by stuffing a towel into her shirt and skirt. It was a body critique against Serena. There have also been people who've questioned her gender. There was a Russian Tennis Federation president in 2014 who was suspended for a year and fined $25,000 for referring to Serena and her sister as brothers. One writer pulled dozens of tweets calling Serena a man, in quotes, or a gorilla. That was after Serena won her 2012 Wimbledon Grand Slam. And the list, I've just gone through it. It's just so extensive. And she talked about the fact that all of that criticism, hearing it, after brushing it off, after withstanding it, after a while, it took a toll on her. And she said this to Harper's Bazaar. It was hard for me, in quotes. She talked about the fact that she was frequently tested. It was just so strange for her. Even her own body type became an issue as well when she wore a black catsuit to the French Open in 2018. The next year, the catsuit was banned. Many critics saw the ban as one that was rooted in racism, fans pointing out that a white tennis player had been allowed to wear a catsuit in the past. And, there was coded racial stereotypes against Serena, talking about her being more masculine or powerful than her white peers. And this is a quote by someone who was profiling her for Rolling Stone. Listen to this, quote, "Sharapova is tall, white, and blonde, and because of that makes more money in endorsements than Serena, who is black, beautiful, and built like one of those monster trucks that crashes Volkswagens at sports arenas," end quote. What a backhanded compliment is that? So the list goes on and on. They've gone through a lot. I think Serena being in Meghan's life is so powerful because she not only can understand what Meghan is going through, she can help her navigate it and know how to hold herself in those spaces and to keep her head up. And, Serena one time had a conversation with Common, and he talked about the fact that she has opened up doors for Black women in sports. And I think the list is just so much longer than that. She has helped people to hold the spaces that they're in and be fully who they are and love themselves, and to be confident and to embrace their Blackness and to be proud of who they are. And this is something powerful that Serena said about being proud of who she is. She said this, quote, that my dad always said you have to know your history, and if you know your past, you can have a great future. And now she says, because of learning about herself, that she is proud to wear her color every single day. And it's that's someone who is in Meghan's life. Don't tell me that Meghan is lacking in strong voices speaking into her and helping her hold herself with poise and grace. And another powerful voice that she has, yet again, may not be a Sistah, in quote, but is Tyler Perry, which, as the article pointed out, is Lily's godfather. And Tyler Perry is someone who has just been a voice, I think, in the Black community. He also has strong faith, and as we all know, opened up his home to the Sussexes back in 2020. He loaned them his Los Angeles mansion, and this was at the time that Harry and Meghan had stepped back from their royal roles, and they were in a point where they did not even have a place to stay. Not only did he give them his house to stay in, he provided security for them and put up extra safety measures in place after the paparazzi found out about their location. He has been so generous to them, and he is not someone who, as we saw in the documentary, is out of their lives. He is very present and speaking into their lives. He's a man of faith. I think a lot of us know about Tyler Perry. And if you have not known about this man, I encourage you just to go and learn about his story. He's a man who has overcome so much, and he can offer up a lot of words of wisdom. He grew up in poverty, and he had such hardship. And he said that he knew that failure for him was not an option. He knew that there was something higher for him. And, his faith in God, it touches all that he does. He is just so inspiring, strong, and present in the lives of the Sussexes. And when we talk about Tyler Perry and how he has come up through the industry to the point now he is a billionaire. Forbes has actually ranked him there. The man has a story. This is just something that is so divinely interwoven as I've been looking into creating this video for you. We all know that that trope of the quote angry black woman is something that he has tackled in his filmmaking experience, and he challenged that historically negative perception quite successfully, I think, as well. And he has cited time and time again that he has drawn upon the women who inspire him in a lot of his projects as well. So I think a lot of us can agree. Now, whether or not people agree on his methods, that's a whole other subject. I'm just talking about the fact that he is a voice in Meghan's life, and he is someone who has spoken candidly about the Black experience, and he, through his filmmaking industry, has been able to challenge the negative stereotypes that had been very predominant in Hollywood, especially the angry Black woman stereotype. And that was something that had also permeated society, a lot of time used to devalue and gaslight Black women. So that's something that I think is so powerful. So there's a lot more that I could excavate as we talk through this topic, and how his own background, how he grew up in a very, very tumultuous household, and he had those real life interactions with Black women, and he was able to observe them, the women in his life, his mother, his aunt, and their girlfriends, and he would be able to view them through an empathetic lens. He was able to witness the range of emotions from women. He got that understanding as to the why, and not just have this one-dimensional view of them. And, you know, he's had his characters, Medea and on and on. And I know there is a lot of other subcontext in the Black community. Some may not like that character for various reasons. I just want to keep this to the point where he has been able to tackle that angry Black woman trope in film, right? And as I said before, he's had a very inspirational journey. This is that understanding that he has, that has been constant theme in his whole career, from the low budget plays that he started off with to him making major deals with BET, and finally having Tyler Perry Studios that sits on 335 acres in Atlanta, Georgia, which was a former active military base during the Civil War. And now he has freedom and cultural capital that has helped construct a new belief system about Black women. As I've said before, I know that the Black community in the US have had their particular views on how he came up with the whole Medea thing. We know that Spike Lee called his work, quote, buffoonery. It is interesting now that he has been able to evolve his career and launch his own film studios and care for thousands of African Americans. That's been at his heart. And that is the godfather of Lily. And he is that voice in the lives of Harry and Meghan. And I do think, in a way, when I saw them just having that interaction with him on the Harry and Meghan documentary, that they have this rapport. He was like an older brother to them, and they have such a mutual respect for each other. And you could tell that they do have that trust in him to, you know, to care for them and to keep their secrets, and to, you know, to be that grounding force for that family. And I think that's just so powerful. And it's very interesting that this segue of the whole Black angry woman will lead me to talk about another powerful voice in the lives of Harry and Meghan, who is Melody Hobson. So for those of you who followed me here on this channel, you know Melody Hobson. I just love this woman. I love her so much. Her story is so inspirational. And this is a woman who is just, in so many facets, very impressive. She is an American businesswoman, the president CEO of Ariel Investments, chairwoman of Starbucks Corporation, the former chairwoman of DreamWorks Animation. She stepped down after negotiating the acquisition of DreamWorks Animation SKG Inc. by NBC Universal in August 2016. And in 2017, she became the first African-American woman to head the Economic Club of Chicago. She was also named to chair the board of directors of Starbucks in 2021, making her one of the highest profile corporate directors in the US. She is a billionaire, as I said before. And as of 2020, she was listed in Forbes list of world's 100 most powerful women. She is right there, and the list just goes on and on and on. And she is a woman who has spoken openly about race. She gave a TED talk a while ago about being color brave, and for those of you who know, because I'm a Star Wars fan, I cannot leave this out. She is the wife of George Lucas. Goodness, I had to add that in here, so she's a nerd and she's all these amazing things as well. So she is a voice, as we've all known, in Meghan's life. And as I said, she openly talks about race, and she has talked about her own experiences, being the only Black woman to currently chair a Fortune 500 company, that is Starbucks. And she has been a key leader and advisor of choice on race issues at those Fortune 500 companies. She is someone who's been very candid about her own struggles with race, and even in her position, of privilege, and she's acknowledged that a lot of things are going well for her. I mean, just think about what I've listed off. But she's gone through things. This is something that I always remember and I want to share here. She said that there was a time when a friend of hers, who as well as just a powerful business partner that she had, was venturing into something, and she gave him an idea that they could host kind of a lunch for him to basically forward the idea that he had that was business related. And they made the plans, had this huge lunch in New York, and they flew out together. And she says that they were dressed to the nines as they arrived at the venue. And she said to the receptionist when she arrived at the man that we have come for the lunch. And the woman, she waved them in, and they both followed that woman through some winding path. And suddenly she said that they appeared in a dark room. And the woman turned around after they reached there and asked them, "Where are your uniforms?" So it was at that moment that one of the people who they were having that lunch with run in, and she said that all the blood had drained from her face, and of course all of that was sorted out. So she says she, even in her own position of privilege, she's gone through things, and she tries to make the conversation on race less uncomfortable. And I love the fact that she said that in her own path, being CEO and president of Ariel Investment, being this woman who is so powerful, that she's had to navigate that space with a lot of wisdom, with all the things that she's gone through. And she talked about sometimes having to make herself small in order to make other people feel comfortable, citing the art of war tactic of crouching to conquer. And that's someone in Meghan's life who's gonna help her. She knows what Meghan has gone through. There is that recognition. It is so fantastic that the Sussexes, and Meghan in particular, have that great connection in Melody Hobson. And it's interesting because Melody herself said that when she wanted to talk about race, she did not want people to perceive her as, quote, the angry Black woman. So that's where this whole segue leads into, that she did not want people to perceive her as threatening, as the Black woman with a fist in the air and militant, in quotes. So she's had these conversations with people in her own sphere of business, her peers, and those even who are above her, who she learns from, and who she can speak to concerning issues of race and help them understand. And I just love the fact that that's someone who Meghan can turn to, because even she herself acknowledged that some people asked her, why should she tackle race? Why should she be seen as someone who's complaining? She has it all. She's rich and famous, a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. She has so much accomplishments. She's married to George Lucas. What has she got to complain about? She is a billionaire, and on and on. But no, she says she has gone through things that are real. So this is something else that I think I should share here that Melody spoke about. She and a colleague had gone to some kind of a business meeting with some powerful individual, and she was on her end of the table, the top authority in that side of things. But she said the business person who they were meeting with did not make eye contact with her for, I think it was about an hour, only looked at the person who was her, I think, subordinate in that meeting. And Melody said that when it finished and she walked out, that the other person who was with her said, "Oh my gosh, how uncomfortable it was. You can't imagine." And Melody asked him, "You can't imagine?" She was the one who was she was experiencing that, and she said that she's had to have a lot of wisdom and grace on how to deal with things that can be so infuriating. And, she knows why something has happened. And she said sometimes she cannot act out of emotion. She needs to have a lot of tact. And she spoke about the whole being angry thing. And she's acknowledged that, yes, things can infuriate her. And she's had to find ways to channel that into a more productive outcome, because she herself has acknowledged that when someone is angry, they're probably not thinking at their best. So that's a voice Meghan has, can help her navigate those moments that are awkward and uncomfortable and charged with things that are subtext in that whole situation. So Meghan, yes, she does, and the list goes on and on. She has Michelle Obama, her friend, talk about someone who's gone through it, as the wife of a president. And we've seen her navigate those spaces where we saw things happening. And, Michelle Obama kept her poise and refused to be disrespected, refused to have racial tropes, bring her down. She's had to hold her head up. So yes, the list just goes on and on. And I'm happy for Meghan, all in all, because she does surround herself with these powerful women and her own, friend groups that have been with her for decades. I think it also speaks to the fact that Meghan, she does not ghost people. She's had friends in her life who have been there, over the years, steadfast in her life. And what's people's problem with Meghan having, quote, powerful friends? If she's blessed to have those friends, I don't think anyone should be salty about it, right? I think we should be happy for her. Meghan has this whole plethora of friends. She has a friend called Lindsay Roth, who's been Meghan's close friend since Northwestern. And even Meghan was the maid of honor at her own wedding. And I want to bring that up to say that she's not a ghoster, and she surrounds herself with, all of these people with all these backgrounds and races. And that's a powerful thing, to have all those experiences speaking to her. Yes, she has white friends, and there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. There is something that they can share with her, and she can learn from them. And I also want to speak about this. She has a friend who is another powerful woman, Priyanka Chopra. I think a lot of you know her in the entertainment industry. Before Priyanka was Priyanka Chopra Jonas, Meghan and Priyanka were amazing friends. They went to Hamilton together in 2016, and that's when they were both rising actresses, and they just hit it off from there. And Priyanka, as we all know, attended Meghan's wedding. That's someone who is in her life, She may not be Black, but that's a woman who can speak to Meghan, from her own Indian background, and even perhaps recognize some of the discrimination that Meghan has gone through with her own unique experiences. And she's gone through a bit herself. I'll just, scratch the surface here. Her own list is quite expansive. She said that when she was attending high school in the US, Priyanka said that she was bullied for her race, with students telling her to, quote, go back to her country. And she also went back to India due to her experience. She's also talked about the fact that she faced discrimination because of her skin tone. Imagine that, someone as beautiful as her. She spoke about in Indian society how they put a premium on lighter skin. And she talked about being referred to by a relative as Kalia, which means black, since she had darker skin than most in her family. And she also talked about a misstep, as she says, in her career, where she worked with a company that lightened her skin for the ad campaign. And she reflected on her own experiences, on how she believed that her skin color made her unattractive, and now she was a part of that destructive messaging. So she spoke about that, and now she has learned from it and apologized for it. So it's interesting that, she has learned, and that's someone in Meghan's life who can help her, someone who she can sit down with and talk to. And it's also interesting, ever since she married Nick Jonas as well, I think that Priyanka's seen another ugly side to people online, people who have, basically insinuated that she trapped him, in quotes. And there was a New York magazine that had to delete an article that labeled her a, quote, a global scam artist who had conned Nick Jonas into marrying her. So it was panned, especially by Indian readers, and it was taken down. So she has gone through something related to the man she married. I can only imagine what she perhaps has gone through. And that's someone who can also speak to that particular brand of issue that Meghan has gone through after being married to the Duke of Sussex. So the story goes on and on. She has people in her life who can bring their own unique experiences. And by the way, I also wanted to add here her good friend Janina Gavankar, huge nerd actress, who has been her friend for more than a decade as well. And Gavankar also took Prince Harry and Meghan and baby Archie's Christmas card, that famous one where Archie's front and center. And she is strongly in Meghan's life. So the list can go on and on. She does surround herself with a lot of people of various backgrounds. Even her friend Misha Nunu, who has an Iraqi father of Jewish descent and an English mom, who by the way as well was born in Bahrain. So that's someone who has had a world of her own experiences and is a friend of Meghan's. So yes, Meghan has had the blessing of having quality friends in her life, people who live with integrity, who are trustworthy and dependable and loyal, and who are watching out for her. So I know this was very focused more so on her having black voices in her life, basically in line with the whole topic of this video. But I would like to stress yet again that Meghan has people who come from various backgrounds and who can bring a whole wealth of worldviews to her, and long-term friends as well. And I want to just give these honorable mentions here. Meghan has had a long-term friend, a friend from school, in fact, called Susan Williger, who also appeared in the docu-series. And she also has a friend, Lucy Fraser, as well, who, has been a great friend of hers for a long time. Cannot leave without mentioning Abigail Spencer, who was Meghan's close friend, in fact her best friend from Suits, a former cast member, and their friendship extended long beyond the series. We also remember that they had that fantastic baby shower where Abigail was really close by Meghan's side. She's just been there for her. And of course, I have got to talk about Ignacio Nacho Figueras and his wife Delfina, who are Argentine, and the close relationship that they have formed with the Sussexes. Nacho and Prince Harry bonded over their shared passion for playing polo and regularly play together throughout the summer. And through that friendship, we now know that we have the whole polo wives thing. So there's a close friendship as well. And that is truly a great connection that the Sussexes have. Ignacio is truly like a brother to Prince Harry. And also Misan Harriman, who is a Nigerian-born British photographer who also helped announce the pregnancy that Meghan had with Lily. We all know he and his wife are quite close to the Sussexes. What an interesting perspective that they can bring. And also Meghan's friend Vicky Tsai, who also appeared in the docuseries, who is the founder of best-selling beauty brand Tatcha. She's been a friend of Meghan as well. So as I said, all these diverse backgrounds and being able to glean from them and learn from each other, I think that is something that is incredible and cannot be understated. So the list, as I said, could just go on, and I've got to just cap it off here by saying Gina Torres, who was Meghan's former castmate from Suits. Meghan has talked about how she looked up to her and was close to her and watched the way she comported herself on the set. So I said there is no shortage of voices that Meghan has in her life, and also specifically in line with this video, there is no shortage of black voices who can speak to some of the struggles that they've seen her going through, especially where Meghan has been targeted with the whole tropes of being an angry black woman, the Duchess difficult, being accused of making Kate cry, having that whole weaponization of tears against her, and how sections of the press have gone after her. And in those specific moments where, she has been targeted on race, that's when these Black voices, these powerful men and women can speak specifically to those issues. As I said before, she has an amazing group of friends. So just for the sake of time, I will cap it off there, but I will say this to say, yes, she has those voices in her life. And yes, unequivocally, I do think it is a strong point that she has people of so many various backgrounds that surround her who can, speak into her life, who, they can both pour into each other and learn from each other at the same time. I think that is so powerful. And it does broaden that worldview that she has. And now when we talk about the world where she is now perceived more so as a Black woman, I think that her surrounding herself as well with those major voices who have had their own Black experience, that is so, so pivotal as well. And yes, I do think it's great if she has even more sisters in her life, sistahs in her life who can give her their own experience as well and own wisdom. But yes, even now as she has that diverse set of friends, and she has those powerful Black voices to speak to her, and some of them are just a phone call away. So yes, Meghan is in good hands. So yes, in light of all this information, I would like to know your thoughts and share with me your own thoughts on the story once again in the comment section below. So thank you all for watching. Before we log off, a special thank you as always to those who support this channel financially. Your support is so meaningful, and I want to give a shout out to a couple of you here who support this channel on YouTube. Thank you, thank you. Thank you to Aminata Ja, a very long time supporter of this channel as well. Thank you for your support throughout the years. God bless you. And Verbena New Year, you warm my heart. You are so, so kind and giving. Thank you. And to Anna Thorne, thank you for your comments and all the ways that you engage on this channel. You mean so much to me. You are so generous and so giving. I want to say thank you, as well as Bunny, long-time supporter of this channel. You've been such a faithful giver, and I just want to say thank you for the tremendous support that you've given this channel. Thank you so much. As well as James Calvin Daniels, thank you. I truly mean that. You have been so generous. Thank you so much. So once again, leave your thoughts below, and if you liked this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Click that subscribe button. It truly does help out the video. Share it as well. Let YouTube know you enjoyed what you watched. Leave your thoughts below on this, and I love you all, and I will catch you in the next one. Have a blessed one.